kind of leading where we want to take our neighborhoods.
You've kind of made some headlines suggesting we need to go back and rethink some of those chemical scourges that have been banned in Ontario to deal with the scourge that is bed bugs.
Right.
It's rampant
Yes.
in the city. Obviously, it impacts on the poor more so than others. It impacts on people who are always transient. As Hamilton gets wealthier, there's a ripple effect. People in lower income homes, once the value goes up, they're off to find another home.
Sure.
What did you hear at the door? And I don't want to put words in your mouth, so I'm going to ask you, what are you thinking out loud that you would like the province to do? But first, what did you hear at the door? What did you find out about Ward 3?
It wasn't what I heard at the door, it's what I saw. And when you do the amount of canvassing that our campaign undertook, and you have the conversations, and you walk into people's homes and you see what an infestation looks like, when you see the density and the effect that it has in some of our, as I said, our high-rise, high-density buildings, once you see that, you can't unsee it. And so we're talking about our seniors, Doug. We're talking about people who have capacity, mobility issues, emotional issues, and the infestations, the stigma around it. And let's be very clear, bed bugs don't care how much money you make. Bed bugs have the ability to go to libraries, to buses, they're everywhere. They're in New York, they're in Manhattan, they're in Montreal, they're in Vancouver, they're in Toronto. So it's not about poverty, and I think what we do, and when we use that kind of framework, is we stigmatize it in a way that separates people from the understanding that, I mean, if you have a child in school, if you have, like, this can be everywhere. And what I would like to do is be very clear that we are in a public health crisis, that people who are exposed to this, not just physically, because there's conversations around what the actual medical impact is, but if you can't sleep, you know, if you have to throw out all of your furniture and you're on a fixed income and you're left with nothing, or worse, that furniture has sentimental value to it, it's been passed down from generation to generation. If you're in a situation where you're not in an adequate setting to begin with, and we talk about Ward 3 as having a high density of illegal 5-plexes and 6-plexes where they might not have the same integrity around their tenants, where they're not dealing with these issues, we have a problem. And again, you know, I said it all the way through the campaign, so it should be of no surprise to anybody that this is something that I take very seriously, because I've seen the human impact. And at a policy level, when people are speaking about statistics and bed bugs, I know they haven't seen it or experienced it, because when you've seen it and experienced it, you start talking about the people. And that's where the impact is, and that's why I suggested that we look at all measures which will help eradicate this in a way that isn't just one apartment to one apartment where, you know, just they shift from floor to floor, from apartment to apartment, in a way that deals with a comprehensive social support for people that are dealing with bed bugs.
So what are you asking the province, or what would you like to ask the province once you're sitting in that councillor's chair?
Sure. Well, first I would like to say that we would like to look at all the best practices across all the, you know, the like cities, and who has the best answer. So far, I know we've tried a bunch of different ways. We've gone through social service, we've gone through private bids, we've gone heat. You know, people are doing the little sprays and the powders and the tape and all that stuff. And so I would even go so far as to say, let's look at the science on some of the things that might have been banned in the past, and does it cost less harm than what's being cost now? And because the human cost that we're seeing right now is substantial. We need to recognize that, we need to own it, and we need to deal with it. And so what I'm happy about is that, you know, the statements on DEET and DDT, now we're having the conversation. So let's have it, right?
All right, that's one headline.
Yeah.
There's another headline. And you're not the only person who is against a gasification plant for Ward 3. It's down on the docklands. It is on harbor, I'm going to use ancient verbiology, Harbor Commission lands, where they feel that they can go ahead and not worry about any city bylaws or ordinances. I think Councillor Collins has made it very clear that this should be, and I don't want to, again, mess this up, but I believe he is saying we control the destiny of any gasification plant. They're going to have the discussion, and I'm sure the lawyers will get involved with the harbor commissioners about this. But it's to be built, if it's to be built, in Ward 3. Matt Green, gasification plant.
Yeah, it's a major issue for us, and mostly pending on the process. And you know, I'm as a progressive candidate, I love evidence-based research. You show it to me, I back right off. We haven't seen the facts, and my suggestion is that if I'm in their position,
almost
as the
a public relations nightmare to call a public meeting and not show up with all the answers to the questions you know are coming. So bad step by the proponents, I would say.
Yeah, I think the first step was trying to host a public consultation meeting before a Easter weekend with 3 or 4 days notice. And I'm of the opinion, being an entrepreneur, that if I have a great product, if I have a solution, let's scream it from the mountaintops. Let's talk about green energy. Let's talk about renewables. Let's have that conversation. What I'm a little bit nervous about, what the red flag is for me, is when they try to push this through without allowing us to have full scrutiny. And so again, I'm being very tough on the process. I'm saying, hey, wait a minute, if it's port lands and they're shipping things in, that's one conversation. If you're trucking things in, that's another. And we've seen their business model. And quite frankly, when somebody tells me who they are, I listen. And so when you tell me you're a private equity firm and you just want to get in and get out, and that you're not going to operate it, when I see that your only experience is in the UK over 5 years, there's only 300 hours of actual processing happening there, I'm nervous. Because you're telling me you don't have the experience to do this type of scale of a project in our city. And let's be real, it's not about municipal waste. You know, the municipal waste tipping fees are not their business model. It's industrial, and quite frankly, they're talking about toxic and nuclear. These are all things they've said on the public record, and I just remind them that that's not the compelling vision that our neighborhoods see for Ward 3 for the sake of, 20 or 30 jobs, and to my earlier colleague's comment, a little bit of tax assessment. We're beyond that now. I don't think we have to take every project that comes our way. I think we could be discerning. I think we can hold ourselves to a higher standard.
This show may have sounded negative with all the issues you have, but there is hope, because part of Ward 3 is the waterfront. It's Hamilton.